Hello everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to be doing the third of my Julie movie versus novelisation videos, and this one's on Darling Lili. So I might have mentioned it in some of my other videos, but Darling Lili is one of my absolute favourite movies that Julie made. It's probably actually second only to Sound of Music. And while that probably has a lot to do with my first introduction to it being The Night I Met Julie, I still absolutely love it. So we're going to be talking about the book. And this one is actually a little different. This book doesn't follow the movie quite as much as the others do, especially at the end, and we'll get to that. That being said, the opening scene is exactly the same, down to the song she's singing. And I'm just going to read you the first description we get of Lili, because it isn't so much a description of Lili as it is of Julie. Which makes sense. The movie was written for her to star in. It was that she was so utterly darling. There was no other word for Lili. She had that fresh, completely English beauty. Her complexion was pink and cream and her hair was not quite blonde. She had the dewiness of a rose that has just opened in a suburban garden. Her features were delightfully regular. Her nose, although rather commonplace, was delicious. P.L. Travers would be proud. Not only that, Lili had all the grace and charm of a lady. You could imagine her out with the hounds and over the shires or at a court ball. And yet, beneath her aristocratic air, she gave out all the cosy warmth, or so it seemed, of the friendly barmaid in a middle-class local. Wherever she found herself, you knew that Lili could be trusted to queen it. Sound familiar? As it is a novelisation, the plot is the same. Lili's a German spy who moonlights as an English concert hall performer and has to get new information about the war out of Major William F. Larrabee, or Captain in the book. Yeah, it's weird. And she does it by seducing him. And you can probably guess what happens. Yes, in the book he's Captain Larrabee, while in the movie he's Major. And it actually says on the back of the book, Major. And given it's a novelisation, it does make me wonder why there would be that difference. But given the ending, that's kind of irrelevant. And even if the ending had been exactly out of the movie, it's completely irrelevant to me. I was reading it as Major half the time in my mind. The scene where Lili and Bill meet for the first time is expanded in the book. It's not just what we get in the film, but it's not different enough to be a deleted scene. It's just much more expanded. That's also what happens at the scene in the hotel later on. As I said, this one didn't seem to be quite as close to the movie as the others did, and there's quite a lot of times where the dialogue is actually pretty different. At least more different than in the other novelisations. For me, as someone who's seen the movie several times, it really didn't make much difference to me. When I was reading, and not just with this novelisation, but with all of them, if the words were slightly different, I was pretty much reading in my head the dialogue from the movie. I also don't pay too much attention to descriptions. There's also this other little weird thing with the writing. Sometimes after a quote, it'll just say who said it to who, in parentheses. Obviously that's only a book thing, but yeah. And while we're on the topic of writing, there are a few instances where there's French words in there. And it's not just as dialogue. And again, for someone who has seen the movie and remembers a little bit of French from when they studied it, it wasn't a problem for me to work out what was going on. But that's just something to keep in mind. Though, as I have said in every one of these videos, are you really picking up the book before you've seen the movie? And I said a moment ago when we were talking about expanded scenes, the hotel scene is expanded quite a bit as well, but I also felt it tied into the overall story a bit more than it did in the film. If you've seen the movie, and again, that's why you're reading the book, or as you will learn as you continue to read the book, Bill's having an affair, and he has a conversation with Lili about how relationships work, which ties into not only his affair, but their relationship as well. And I wouldn't call that expanded on in the way I'd call the meeting scene expanded on. And of course, if you've seen the film, you know what happens after the hotel scene. It's a lot more interesting in the film, and I'd wager even famous to an extent. At least in terms of the movie. But it's not a shower scene in the film, it's just in her bedroom. So of course, as Lily's trying to get information out of Bill, there are people who are trying to work out who is doing that. And these are of course the men from the French Army Intelligence. Duval and Foch, I don't know, this. Except, like as is the case with Bill, they're switched a little. In the movie, Duval's Captain Duval, and in the book, it's Major. So he and Bill switch titles. And then of course, there's the higher-ups at the spy network. And they're not happy about von Ruger, who's Lily's superior, partner in crime, something like that. You know who he is, you know what he does, I don't have the right word for it. Anyway, they're not happy that he's given Lili this assignment because she's English and because she's a woman. And they take that much further in the movie. They are a huge part of the climax in the film. In the book, after the scene where they confront von Ruger about this very topic, they disappear. We never hear from them again. And as the Army Intelligence guys are trying to work out who the spy is, they stumble upon Bill's mistress, who is not that far from Lili herself, in that she's a performer. And Lily's really not happy when she finds out about that. So much so that when she arrives home, she lets out a string of not expletives before slamming the door and clearly cursing, but we don't hear it. Because it's Julie. That doesn't happen in the book. We hear her go through it in her head, but of course there's no door to slam. And no curse at all. Which is sad, because that is probably my favourite part of the movie. That being said, the two instances where she says to von Ruger, "Oh, don't be an ass," are still in there, and that's awesome. Now it's time to talk about the ending. Or endings, because they are so different. So Lili and her partners in crime, von Ruger, the maid, the butler, they all go out and make it seem like Bill's mistress is the spy, so that Lily's out of the running. Then not long after that, Lili finds out that Bill loves her, and from there, the book and the film go in complete opposite directions. She goes off to confess that she's actually the spy. In the movie she does it to the French army guys, and in the book she does it to Bill first. And she does it in German, and after she's finished he says, "I don't know German." That got a little bit of a giggle out of me. And yeah, like the French lines in the book, there are a few lines in German. So going back to the higher-ups at the spy network, as I said, in the book they disappear after that one scene. In the movie, they're out to kill Lili and capture von Ruger. And in the film, right after Lili confesses, von Ruger's there right at the Army Intelligence headquarters, and he accidentally gets shot from the guy that was aiming for Lili. And then they have to get out of the country ASAP. So they jump on a train and head for Switzerland, only to have the assassin show up again. And Bill's gone after her. But in the film he's just flying around in his plane after they jump off the train. And then at the very, very end, there's a scene that almost mirrors perfectly the opening scene. So she's off at the theatre again singing, and when the song finishes he rushes up onto the stage and kisses her. And that's the ending to the movie. Now let's talk about the book. In the book she also goes and confesses. But von Ruger's not there and he doesn't get shot, and they head over to the farm, which is kind of a neutral third-party location base thing. It's mentioned in the film but we don't actually see it. And then they head off towards Germany in a Zeppelin. Bill still followed her, but he actually manages to get up onto the Zeppelin this time. Of course there's not a Zeppelin in the film, but my point is he's able to reunite with her that same day and not have to wait until the war ends. And as I was reading the ending, I'm going, there's 15 pages left. We haven't heard anything about the guy coming to kill her. How on earth are we going to get to the end in that many pages? The short answer is, we're not. It makes me wonder what draft they actually wrote this book from. The ending almost seems a bit fanficky, in a way, just because of how different it is. Like somebody wasn't satisfied with what we got in the film, so they decided to change it. Not that the film doesn't have a happy ending, it just takes it a little longer to get there. And I know there was the director's cut version of Darling Lili out there. I'm 99.999 repeating % sure that I have the full version. If I haven't seen the full version, I will need to rectify that as quickly as possible. But even with that, I can't imagine the ending of the director's cut being that different. And I haven't heard anything about an alternate ending. But the moments where it is straight out of the movie, it feels like you're reading the movie, just like all the others. But I don't know if I'd recommend it quite the same way I'd recommend the others. As I've said before in this and every other video, are you really reading the book if you haven't seen the movie? So I guess with the ending of this one, just be aware that it is different. And I guess in that sense it really doesn't matter whether you read the book or see the movie first this time. Though I will say this, if you're already a fan of the movie, I would definitely try and seek this one out, simply because of the ending. Just to see whether you like it. That's everything I've got for you today, guys, with the Darling Lili novelisation versus movie review. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. Would you read the book? Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!